All right, let's call the June 26th special council meeting to order. Roll call shows that councilors Marks, Berthasell, Kenny, Demerit, and Wingard are present. Councilor Laraway will be joining us a few minutes late. We have a pretty full agenda, but we're going to have one agenda adjustment, adding in an item prior to our second public comment, a brief town manager's update regarding the upcoming special election. And Councilor Laraway is with us. All right, so first thing on our agenda is public comment. There is any public comment either in chambers or online? I don't see any.
There's no
Well, we
hands
have
raised online.
Okay, thank you. We have some kind of little box or recording screen that needs to be clicked on. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. All right, new business. First order 23-102, order approving the fiscal year 2023-2024 municipal budget, expenses and revenue. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion in a second. Turn it over to Sophie.
So I don't know if council wants to say more about the budget. We've gone through public hearing and a public presentation that are available to the public, but I wanted to take just a minute because I received a question regarding this particular order and how we got from our summary budget to this order. And I want to walk people through because I think is important that everybody understand how we got from what you were seeing to your order. I have passed out a spreadsheet that is on large paper. If you look at that spreadsheet, I've taken the most recent budget summary. Down the side in the very first column, you have line numbers. Those line numbers correspond to the numbers in the boxes on the other side. So the first question was, when the summary sheet that we've been working with said that we had a net municipal assessment of $5,545,367, and the budget order says $5,131,368. How did we get there? First, there's a $1 rounding issue that I will take care of when I roll the budget. Your word is supreme, so I will go with the order. When we look at the difference between the summary sheet and the budget order, with the summary sheet, I'm adding all sorts of estimated things into the summary that are not things that council adopts or approves. So when you look at lines 1, 2, and 7, operating expense, debt service, and capital expense, that equals the $13,465,116 in the order. When you look at revenue lines 10, 11, 12, and 15, revenue sharing, general fund reserves, capital revenues, and use of assigned fund balance, that equals $8,333,748. The net to be raised when you take the first expense number I just said and the revenue number, subtract that from it, leaves a net to be raised from municipal of $5,131,368. $131,368. There we go. I have taken out of your summary the TIF tax increment financing program development funds, which is actually approved in order 23-106. That is not part of what we commit taxes for. I've also on your summary sheet in the next box down, talked about the estimates that have been provided to council so that you have a full view of what the impact of the budget will be, although those are not council decisions. So that is overlay TIF program expense, which is the value of the TIF increment, sheltered value. Homestead reimbursement, which is a function of how many valid homesteaders we have, and Betty reimbursement, which is the business equipment tax exemption program. When you take the value that is on the order, that 5,131,368, you add in the overlay and the TIF expense, and you subtract out the homestead reimbursement and the Betty expense, that is where you get the 5,545,368, again, rounding, that you have seen on your summary sheet. So I hope I have tied this together for you and you understand why the order is different than the budget. Beautiful.
Thank you. So the projected municipal tax rate then does not use the 5.5, which is on our summary sheet. It uses 5.1. Is that correct?
No, your projected municipal tax rate includes the commitment dollars. And that's just a projection based on what happens in commitment during commitment. Valuation, homestead, Betty, overlay, and TIF program expense.
So the total amount to be raised by taxes for the municipal budget of 5.1 on our order is not that 940, correct?
So Leo, it's the amount that council has the authority to approve
All right.
for the municipal budget.
Thanks. We can maybe talk about it later. Thank you. Appreciate the rundown.
There any further discussion on order 23-102?
No, just thanks to Sophie. This is a wonderful spreadsheet. Thanks.
Yeah, well, well done. It's just really glad it's got one of these under our belts for, I guess, for Sarah and I both, and I'm really pleased with how it all came together. And no PowerPoint today.
All right. Thank you. All right. So seeing no further discussion, we'll call for a vote on order 23-102. All those in favor? And it is unanimous. Moving on to order 23-103, order approving the water pollution control facility budget for fiscal year 23-24 in the amount of $1,897,750 for operations and $339,000 for capital improvements for a total of $2,236,750.
Move approval. Second.
So we've discussed this at workshop and after workshop. This represents maintaining current service level and while trying to also begin the process of rebuilding our very stressed reserves.
Any discussion on 23-103? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for a vote on that order. All those in favor? And it is unanimous. Moving on to order 23-104, order approving a sewer user fee from $5.90 per 100 cubic feet to $6.25 per 100 cubic feet with a minimum quarterly charge of $75 effective July 1st, 2023 billing date. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Any discussion? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, if you're, I'm happy to have you just roll through. We have talked about the increase.
Yes. Okay. Any discussion on this order? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote on order 23-104. All those in favor? And unanimous. Moving on to order 23-105, order approving the 5-year capital investment plans fiscal year 2024 through fiscal year 2028 for the town and water pollution control facility.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this order? Okay, seeing none, call for a vote on order 23-105. All those in favor? Is unanimous. Moving to order 23-106, order approving a fiscal year 2023-2024 economic development budget totaling $859,784, funded by the following tax increment financing district development programs. I will read them with downtown and transit oriented, TIF, Webster Point TIF, Penobscot Valley Dermatology, Deergo Pines Inn, and Orono Basin TIF. We need a motion.
Move approval.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a vote on order 23-106. All those in favor? It is unanimous. And order 23-107, order approving revisions to the town of Orono fee schedule effective July 1st, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the fees? Okay. Seeing none, call for a vote on order 23-107. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Can I just ask if that we pull off 23-109?
Or Nancy, procedurally, do we vote on removing that from the consent agenda? No, our ordinance says, right, anybody can remove.
Anybody?
Okay, so we'll approve the consent agenda minus order 23-109, and then we'll address that order separately. So do we need now a new motion? Okay, so can I get a new motion to accept the consent agenda minus order 23-109?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? It is unanimous. Okay, so now addressing order 23-109, order authorizing the town manager to adjust the fiscal year 2024 tax increment financing district expenses budgets and the use of restricted funds to reflect the changes in credit enhancement agreement payments from tax increment financing district program development funds, which were previously approved by council as estimates, but which will be determined by the commitment of fiscal year 2024 property taxes. We need a motion before we can discuss it.
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
Now, discussion.
I just wanted to make sure I understand this. This is probably maybe fits into the last question a little bit. Maybe it doesn't. Does what we collect this year impact what we use from the reserve account this year? This says district order authorizing to adjust the tax increment finance district expense budget and use of restricted funds. I'm just wondering,
So-
do we already, are we just spending from the restricted funds and just collecting and putting into, are those separate kind of things?
They are separate kind of things. And I think the important piece of this order, Leo, I think you stopped a little short, is to reflect the changes in credit enhancement agreement payments. So councils, whether it's you or previous councils, have entered into contractual arrangements with developers and property owners to return a portion of the taxes paid on certain properties within the TIF district. Depending on what the final tax bill is and tax rate and the final value of the property, that credit enhancement agreement amount fluctuates. What doesn't fluctuate is the formula by which it is determined. So it's usually a percentage of the taxes paid. There are some that are a lot more complicated than that. But what happens is if I say, for example, Deergo Pines Inn, I think we put $105,000 in there. If they have done some upgrade and suddenly their tax bill is $110,000, what you're saying with this order is, Sophie, you can adjust the use of the funds by 5,000 and the expense budget by 5,000. So that you can pay that bill and we won't overrun the budget line. It's only for the credit enhancement agreement.
So this isn't, the use of restricted funds isn't going towards economic development expense of 859,784, then it doesn't.
So these were part of that 859. That's the credit enhancement agreement payments were part of the economic development budget, and we estimated what they would be. Those can sometimes take wild swings one way or the other, which is why we make an estimate based on what the last year's expense was. And then council gives me the authority to adjust those budgets just for that purpose, up or down.
But we know that the 859,784, that's not an estimate. That's a expense, correct?
So the 859,784 includes the estimates of the credit enhancement agreements. And I will tell you, Webster Point, Penobscot Valley Dermatology, Dirigo Pines Inn, and the Orono Basin, 100% of those budgets is the credit enhancement agreement. Downtown and transit oriented TIF district has a few credit enhancement agreements, and I don't off the top of my head without digging back into the budget. I can't tell you what those are.
Okay, thank you.
So Leo, just so I'm clear also, I think what Sophie's explaining is we're looking at line 3 here. And I think you were asking if we were looking at line 5 instead. Is that correct on this great new budget sheet that Sophie's presented? It is line 3, correct, Sophie? That we are authorizing you to adjust if
Yes.
needed, correct?
Yes.
Line 3 is what can be adjusted, or line
Yeah.
5?
Line 3, Leo, I'm pretty sure. I'll let Sophie go, but I'm pretty sure that's what she just said.
Line 5 is the taxes that need to be collected from the sheltered value. That is a function of commitment. You don't approve that.
So that's what's going to be adjusted, no?
No, what's going to be adjusted is line 3. So within the economic development expense budget, it includes the payment of credit enhancement agreement. Those contractual agreements council's already made, but that fluctuate once we set the value of properties and the tax rate. All you're doing in this order is giving me the authority to adjust the budget to reflect the actual payment. So if instead of 105,000 for Dirigo Pines, the mill rate drops and it's 100,000, then I would reduce what we're going to use in tax increment financing dollars, and I'm going to reduce the expense to 100,000.
So both happen. Are we talking about what we're collecting in 2023 or what we're actually collecting in 2024?
So with the use of TIF program development funds, it all goes into a TIF account. Most of our TIF accounts have some money in them already. When it comes to credit enhancement agreements, we're talking about the dollars that we're collecting in 24 that have to go back in 24. If for some reason a property owner didn't pay their 23 tax until they came in for 24, then we'd be paying for 23 and 24 out of that budget. Because what we didn't use would be sitting in the account.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll call for a vote on order 23-109. All those in favor? It's approved unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to our agenda adjustment item, which is a brief town manager's update regarding the special election.
So counselors asked for a brief update with regard to the election. So the election is going to happen on August 8th, right here in Town Council chambers from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. We are in the nomination period right now. That nomination period stays open until next Wednesday. Yeah, next Wednesday, July 5th at noon. So nomination papers are simply the papers that you pull down in the clerk's office. You are required to get at least 25, but not more than 100 signatures from registered Orono voters. We had talked, because we're trying to do things very quickly and allow for the longest nomination period that we could. So the ballots will be available, absentee ballots will be available in the morning of July 6th. So we currently have 2 people that have pulled papers. And we are, instead of doing a candidates night, our thought was to do a candidate questionnaire that people could fill out, and we would simply post on the town website. We do not edit these. And instead we ask people to stay at a 250 word limit. Thus far, as we looked, the questions that came up were, please share any related lived experience, skills, training, and or qualifications. Describe why you are interested in serving on the town council and what you might contribute. That is what has been done in the past. Nancy has also kindly pulled questions from a couple of years that have been used for candidates night. The one that has 5 council questions is what was used last year to seed candidates night. Why do you want to serve on council? What do you believe the top priority is, the top priority of council for the next 3 years? What do you think the town's doing right? What do you think the role of a counselor is in town government? And how do you propose the town should work with decreasing state funds? I would say 5 probably would need to be reworked, because I don't know that that's truly honest. At this point, it was when it was written. And then we have the base questions that those 5 were kind of pulled from. And there are like 13 of them that I think everybody also got. So I don't know if council wants to add more questions to this, or if 250 words about yourself and 250 words about why do you want to serve are adequate. And I don't know that it takes a lot of wordsmithing. I think council normally has given feedback kind of from afar, and the clerk kind of takes responsibility for putting stuff together, but we can do whatever you want because it's your show.
I think it makes sense to, I mean, it's an abbreviated election for an abbreviated term, and I think we need to be careful we don't create, as much as I'd like to have a robust opportunity to get to know anyone who's running for office, we don't want to create barriers for people that may prevent them from wanting to run. So, I mean, people may have to do the minimum that, they don't have to do it at all, I suppose, right? They get their 25 signatures in and they can qualify for the ballot. But if we make it seem like there's a lot of hoops to jump through to be, considered a candidate, it makes it harder. So, and then people, of course, are free to do whatever they choose to do in terms of engaging on their own with the electorate.
So when you say that, Councillor Demerit, are you thinking we shouldn't put anything up, or just the minimum kind of 2 questions, or what would you like?
I think the minimum questions, I think it makes sense to have an opportunity for the candidates to get to introduce themselves on a municipal platform. And I think I don't know. I guess I think they should have the chance to do that, but I don't know whether I honestly don't know whether I think, 5 questions are a deal breaker for somebody or not. I mean, it seems pretty simple. I think it's a good opportunity. And I think we have to think also about what the electorate needs to know at a minimum to assess the candidates. So I guess I think the 5 questions make sense.
I I was gonna say, I feel like just the bio questionnaire makes sense, candidate bio questionnaire. And then maybe, I mean, I don't think we want to restrict them if they want to go, there's two opportunities for 250 word limits. Maybe there's other additional or something like that, just to kind of let it free form, but for those same reasons that it's a abbreviated position with short notice. That's my thought.
Sure. I think it would be nice to provide people both the opportunity to do the same bio that folks have done in the past running for office. I think that's great. And given that there isn't a candidates night, an opportunity that they don't need to take, but can if they want to respond to some of these questions that have been compiled. And so, and then we can post their YouTube videos or link to them on the town website. And then if people really like that format of getting to hear a candidate speak, they'll be able to access that. That would be my preferred way of moving forward.
Sarah?
Yes, I think I agree with a lot of what's been said. I think that 13 is a little overwhelming and a lot of detail, and some seem like they're really geared toward a certain season of the year. But the 5 questions, number 1 is actually a repeat with what's already asked on the candidate bio. So it's really just 4 additional questions. And I think it'd be great to give people the opportunity to answer those. Mostly as Sonia brought up, or Leo, and I think Dan also, just because there is also the question of people in the community getting to know something about these people. So I think giving the option for those 4. Sophie, would it be accurate on the one that's currently number 5? If that wording was changed to say something like, how do you propose the town should work with the end of increases in state money instead of decreases? Is there a way to word that would be different that we could look at?
Would we maybe want to even make it a little bit more higher level of, how do you propose the town balances infinite wants and finite resources? If I was gonna, or limited budget or something like that, that's my inner Tom Perry. Does that work? Okay.
I think that's excellent. I like the 2 big bio candidate questions. I like having giving people the opportunity to give a little bit more detail. Sonia mentioned that we had talked about providing a platform for candidate videos, short videos. I don't know how that gets mechanized, but that would be nice if we could do that as well. Great. So any other suggestions or comments for town staff? So we're clear on how to go forward. Great. Thank you very much. This was a request from Councilor Marks that came in just today. And I think Nancy and Sophie worked really hard to put this material together for us. So I want to acknowledge and thank them for doing that. That ends the business part of our meeting tonight. So this special council meeting is a little bit different than many in that we have the first part as a formal meeting up here on the dais. The next part of our meeting is going to be held as a workshop. So we're going to stop recording because we're moving off the dais, but our public meeting continues as a workshop in the back of the room. We will take no formal action. I'm sorry.
Well, I love to get to the meat of the workshop.
Oh, yes.
We do have public comment.
Oh, we do have, yes, I'm sorry. There is
No
another
public-
opportunity for public. Thank you.
Come on. Thank you.
So, I'm sorry. And Bill, I should also ask if there is anybody online that would like to offer a public comment at this time.
There's nobody with their hand raised.
Okay, thank you very much. So with my apologies, we will take about 2 minutes to transition.
Jeff, I had one question. I
Oh,
just
yeah,
realized.
Sarah.
Sorry, is there a time by which candidates would need to get these question answers in, or is it just as soon as they get them in, you'll post them?
So we normally send this out right when the nomination period, thank you. Right when the nomination period is over and before absentee balloting starts. There's usually a week and a half or 2 in there. And it usually coincides with candidates night. Funny. We don't have any of that this time. So I would probably be more, I'm short-staffed between now and the 5th or 6th anyway of July. So we would look to put them up as soon as I have staff here and can do that. But I don't think I'd do a deadline. I mean, I think if you wanted to wait until election day, you're gonna probably miss some people, but you could do that.
That sounds great. Thanks. So as soon as people get them in sometime after the 5th and 6th is when they'll go up. Thanks.
Great. Okay, so we will take no formal action after our workshop. But our meeting continues as a workshop at this time. Thank you.